Greetings to all you folks out there once again. Thank you so much for joining us here on Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. Well, we are streaming live on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. Very happy to have all of you. And I am Nipasa Pradhan, your host for today. I'm going to be with you for the next hour, and we are going to discuss some very, very important topic. But before we dive into it, there's this very important message I want to share with you. And that is, by watching our videos, you agree and understand that the information provided by our experts and attorneys, including comments and replies from users, is not legal advice. So, use of information is at your own risk. And this is Immigration and Jobs Talk Show, friends, the second webinar for today. And we are going to have a fun time with our guest, none other than attorney Uma Mantravadi from Mantra Law Office. And will help me welcome her back once again. How are you doing, Ma'am Uma? Thank you so much for joining us once again here.
Thank you for having me, Nipasa, and it's a pleasure to be back. How am I doing? Well, a little bit on the crazy side, a lot of issues happening, and we'll talk about it.
I
But
heard,
I
I
guess,
heard.
yes,
Right.
we've
So,
had power outages at the Texas Service Center for a whole week, a whole
I
one
know.
week.
It's
And
crazy. I can't
some
believe it's happening
attorneys,
there.
yes. And some attorneys, the packages were returned back to them, and some were lost either by USPS, UPS, FedEx. I've had FedEx packages lost, and we've had to
Crazy.
recompile the whole package and send it back, put a stop on the checks so that nobody else can, take those checks again. And so it's a lot of, headache is what I'm
I
saying.
know.
And we
Right
are
at the
still
peak
waiting
timing.
at the peak. And these are all premium processing that too. We're paying
So double work for you.
$2,805 extra for the packages to be premium processed. And some of them, particularly, I do a lot of P3 visas. These are for artists, and artists have a
Mhm.
time bound too because they have to come and perform here on a certain day, certain time. And if they
Yes,
don't come, the concert is all washed out.
right, right. And they
And
have agreement signed that they have to be there. And in
yes,
fact, they too have to pay some price, I guess.
yes, you know, people who go
It's
and watch
crazy.
these concerts, we pay tickets and we get upset too.
Everything, booking not only tickets for the concert, but also the staying over wherever we are going to hold up if we are flying from other cities to just watch the
Correct,
concert. I mean, big artists,
correct.
people do that.
So
Right.
it
So
has
crazy
become a
that's
pain,
happening.
and in fact, I have reached out to the ombudsman's office to see what they can do to help us now and in the future. Should a situation like this arise, not just with the Texas Service Center, could be the Vermont, could be the California, could be Potomac, could be anything, Lincoln. And we don't know if this
Mhm.
happens because this is the first time we've, uh, you know, encountered for a whole
Yes.
week where we've seen packages lost or come back. So we're
Power
reaching out to
outage. And
them, power
how are you
outage.
dealing with it?
Exactly.
I wonder how are people in Texas dealing with it and how it's
It has been very strenuous on all the attorneys, all of us, including myself. I'm not going to say,
sure.
trying to stay as calm as possible and find solutions because, getting upset is not going to help me or help my client. So my only option is how do I find other solutions? And even in the letters, we've requested the service center, since we lost about 10 to 12 days, if they can expedite the expedite request because of, their power outage. We lost time. And as I said, I'm also reaching out to the ombudsman's office and hoping, you know, that we would get some help from there. So something that I
sure.
just
I
wanted to
mean,
touch base.
for sure. I mean, 1 week is a huge time loss. I mean, imagine losing so much time where we could seriously catch up on all the work that I'm sure must have become pending by now. So it's crazy. It's crazy.
It
And FedEx
is.
using packages, it's, I don't know, shocking because they're one of the best, I think. At least I
They
know.
are, we've usually never encountered huge problems from FedEx. I've always seen problems with USPS or UPS,
Mhm,
but FedEx
exactly.
has been on top of it. I mean, I would even give them the credit during Harvey. We had a huge hurricane, as you can remember, back in
Mhm.
2017. And in spite of that, they delivered packages in a right time. So, I mean, we've never
Yes.
had it, but yeah, this is one time.
Do you think it is serious or maybe somebody playing a game,
I'm pretty sure,
losing?
I mean, they were also trying to deliver these packages, trying to attempt to deliver. And for them also, they had to
Mhm,
tell us that the business is closed. We're not able to deliver the package. So sometimes I guess, when you have those packages for so long sitting in your truck or wherever it's sitting, people make
mhm.
mistakes and it could get lost. I'm not saying it's justified, but, it happens.
Yes, happens. Accidents do happen and unpredictable they
Absolutely.
are. So we just have to deal with it, I guess. So,
Yes,
well,
we were
moving
quick
on.
to jump in. My assistants had to recreate the packages. We did that. We immediately sent out the package and it was delivered the very next day. That was yesterday. So we think we're back on track for those lost packages.
I'm glad, really. Well, must have taken quite a toll when you just knew that they were lost. But then here
Yes,
you are. Very, very good going, I would say. Kudos to you and your team and to
thank
everyone
you.
out there who are facing such situations because of the current, I mean, the power outage, the recent power outage in Texas, and also FedEx losing premium processing packages, which is shocking for sure. All right. So, well, friends, this is none other than Attorney Uma Mantravadi from Mantra Law Office, and she has been practicing immigration law for over 30 years now. And, well, she is definitely someone you would like to consult and get in touch with. So, if you have questions, you can directly contact her, or even better, we are here for an hour now. So, you might as well send your questions, and yes, she'll be here very happy to answer to you. All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And today's topic is displayed on the screen. From visitor to professional visas. Is changing status from B-2 to F-1 to H-1B feasible? And today we are totally going to discuss about this. So, Uma, what can folks out there expect from us today in this episode?
It's going to be a very interesting topic because Nipasa, a lot of people come, let's say, on a B1 or a B2, whether it's
Mhm,
from India or Dubai or Singapore, Malaysia, any country, Australia, UK, Canada. People come from all walks of different countries, different professions. And once they come here, let's say they meet an employer and the employer says, you know what, I like your resume, your skill set, your technical skills. You know what, I'm
mhm,
ready to hire you. You want to stay back? You want to get your H1 or you want to get your L1 or you want to get a student visa, whatever it is, So that
mhm,
happens. Or if I am driving by with my cousin and I look at University of Michigan and I love the campus, I look at it and say, you know what, this has been a dream for me to go to school in the United States. Now I want to do it. Can I do it? These are the questions that come to me. People come with these questions, and yes, it is possible, but you've got to do anything you do, whether you're doing an F1 to H1, or whether you're doing an L1 to an H1, or a H1 to an L1. You've got to do
mhm.
it the proper way with the proper documents. And once you have convinced the USCIS, anything is possible.
For sure, for sure. So today we are definitely going to find out what are the possibilities, especially if you want to change status. And Uma is going to guide us through it. And I can already see folks out there dropping questions. So I'll quickly say hi, Uma, if you don't mind. So hi to
Hi.
Deepak. Hi, Neha, Rohit, Anjesh. We are going to take your questions. Stay with us, all right? Stay with us, and quickly we will take them up. But before that, I got some questions of my own too, Uma, and Let's take them up first. So, this first one is basically to understand the visa status changes. So, if you could explain, the feasibility and even the process of changing visa status from B-2 to H-1B and the potential challenges that could be involved in it.
Yeah, for example, let's say we've had somebody come in from Dubai. I'm just giving as an example, and
Mhm.
they decide, oh, you know what, I don't want to go back. I've got an employer who's willing to do my H1, and can I get my H1 here? Now, if you come around the time when the H1B lotteries are happening, and your employer registers you for the lottery, and you get picked up, you're the lucky one. So you are the first one to get picked up there, and that is the first step for you, is to get picked in the lottery. Now, if you're lucky, you cross that hurdle, then the next step would be for your employer to file your H-1B. But keeping in mind, Nipasa, this individual has to maintain their B2 status until the H-1B application is approved. Now, how do you maintain status? You get a B-2 only for 6 months. Sometimes it could be less than 6 months. It could be 3 months, could be 4 months, depending on what they've received at the port of entry. Now, they have to file an extension to maintain their status, and that way they can change their status from a B-2 to an H-1. If they fail to maintain their status, they will not approve a change of status. They'll ask them to go back to their home country and get an H-1. And if you're out of status, getting an H-1 at the consulate is almost next to impossible. So that is the basics that I'm talking about.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much for taking that up. And I'm sure, there could be potential challenges depending on what your situation is, and every case is different. So, I mean, we will know only after each case is properly analyzed. So, yes, best to always consult an attorney, consult an expert, and they will direct you best. All right. So also, if you want to contact attorney Uma Mantravadi, her details are scrolling on the screen. You can always take up her contact information and get in touch with her. All right, so let's move on. This next question I have is for individuals holding a B-2 visa, but wishing to study in the US, what are the essential steps and requirements to apply for an F-1 student visa?
One of the first thing is to reach out to a university or a community college, wherever you intend to study. You need to reach out to them and see what is your interest, what are you wanting to study, whether it's computer science or you want to become an engineer. You've already got an engineering degree, bachelor's, but now you want to do a master's, or you want to go from engineering into computer science. A lot of people are doing that, going into AI. Some people come here with a bachelor in science and then they want to become a nurse. You can do that as well. So it all depends what is your interest. Make sure you know exactly what you want to do. Nobody's going to tell you what you should be doing. You should know what you're going to be studying. You should be clear in your mind as to what you want to study. Once you're clear, you go to a university, give them all your transcripts, and they will tell you if they are giving you an admission in a bachelor's or a master's based on your transcripts and your degree. What do you qualify for? They might even do an evaluation or ask you to do an evaluation of your degree to determine whether you'll go into a bachelor's or a master's. So that's the first step. Second step, do you have the finances to pay for the school? Let's say the school is going to cost you about $40,000. Now, do you have the financial capability to support yourself, or do you have family members, like say parents, brothers, sister, friend, somebody who's going to support you in the US or from your native country? Then you've got to get those documents to prove that you will not be seeking any kind of loans or anything, but somebody is actually going to sponsor your education financially. Once that is done, the school will obviously issue your I-20. Then you've got to pay a CVIS fee, and then you've got to pay for the change of status. Again, I advise people, make sure you maintain your B2 status until your F1 is approved, because sometimes it may take 6 months, over 6 months. And let's say your F1 is denied and you also don't have a B2 status, you may fall out of status. So I wouldn't advise you to do that. Definitely, you should be maintaining your B2 status until you get your F1 visa status approved.
Okay. Okay, sorry, there was some lag, but yes, there
That's
is
right.
no proper webinar without technical issues, I guess. But anyway, friends, yes, thank you so much for taking that up, Uma. And well, we have Govind Dash's question on YouTube, which is displaying on the screen. Is there any chance for H-1B second round for the first round? Because for the first round, I had not got selected for fiscal year
I
2025.
wouldn't be able to guess that, Govind. We can only wait and see. Hopefully, if there is a round two, they would announce that in July. We
Mhm.
don't know if all the employers have filed all their H-1Bs, because June 30th is the deadline to file it. And only after the deadline is crossed will the USCIS know if there's any chance for opening up round two. So it's too early for any one of us to guess that.
I know, and folks out there have had this question right on their heads for, I don't know, ever since the first H-1B lottery results came out, I think. So we'll just have to
Yes.
keep waiting, folks. But I will just like to tell you that you should subscribe to our channel because if there is any second lottery, we will be the first to let you know. All right, so hit that subscribe button and stay with us for the latest updates on anything immigration and jobs related. Well, yes. So we already spoke about the initial stages, the steps and requirements. And I think I would like to have another question, which is regarding the waiting period and intent. How long should one wait before applying for a change of status, say from B-2 to F-1, to avoid perceptions of dual intent? And why is this waiting period important?
Good question, Nipasa. Um, as per the Trump regulations or policies, President Trump had passed a rule that you cannot change your status in the first 90 days, whether you're changing it from B2 to F1, H1, L1, M1, TN, anything, or you're getting married to a US citizen, you want to apply, anything you want to do, you've got to wait for the 90-day period. If you do that prior to that, they will bring in a red flag to say that you had a preconceived intent to change your status. So I wouldn't advise doing anything in the first 90 days.
Thank you so much, Uma. And well, so 90 days, it is something you should keep in mind, friends. And if you have, what if people already know that they want to change? Can they do it, or they have to
I
go
mean,
over
they
the 90
can, but
days?
then if they do it earlier to the 90 days, as I said, it would be a red flag for the USCIS that this individual had pre planned, had a preconceived intent to come here, and his
Mhm.
real intent was not a B2, his real intent was not an F1. If they came on an F1 also and applied for an H1 immediately, even that is a red flag.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Uma, for clearing that out for us. And well, this takes me to the next question, to the application process. Is it necessary, for B-2 visa holders to complete a new DS-160 form before submitting the I-539 application when changing from the F-1 status?
Nipasa, when they are in the US, they don't have to deal with the DS 160. The DS is only for the State Department. That's why it's called DS, Department of
Okay.
State form. So this is only
Hmm.
when you're at the US consulate that you fill out a DS 160, whether it's for a tourist, whether it's for an F-1, H-4, L-2, any dependent status of a non-immigrant. That's what you fill up, the DS 160. And you don't do that when you're in the US. You're directly filing for a change of status, whether it's from a B-1, B-2 to F-1 to H-1 to L-1, whatever you're filing it for.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Sure. All right. So I think we should quickly take up one question from the audience out there who are so actively participating. Thank you so much for all your questions. I'll just say stay with us, stick with us. We will take each one of them. All right, friends. So this first one is on YouTube from Deepak asking, what should applicants manage and track their case progress through each stage of the status change? What tools or resources are available to help applicants stay organized and informed?
Well, one is you need to have a notice of receipt. You've got to have the receipt number, and you can go to uscis.gov and go to the case status online. That's the only app that is available for you to check your status as to what is going on and keep up with it. Or if you're on apply, if your employer has applied for an H-1, you may want to reach out to your employer to ask what are the updates from the attorney. That is one way of finding out. Other than that, there's no other way to find out. Now, if you're going from a B-2 to H-1, also a B-2 to F-1, you can still track your case with the case receipt number. However, Nipasa, one or two times, or rarely, we've seen where you put in the receipt number of your case and it brings up saying case cannot be found, which is typically a technical glitch or a software glitch from the CS side. We don't have any control on that, even though we've got a hard copy of the notice of receipt with a proper number. Sometimes it doesn't come up in the system because there's an error on the USCIS website. So
Mhm.
does it happen? We've seen it happen quite a few times.
Okay. It happens. You never know. Anything can happen, right?
Yes.
Exactly. All right. So my next question to you would be something about, handling visa expirations. So what are the requirements and implications of changing from an almost expired F-1 visa to a B-2 visa?
As long as you've not, your I-94 is not expired. Let's say you have even a week, or let's say you have even 5 days. We, at our office, we were able to jump in quickly and within a few hours, get the package ready and sent it out. And so there was no problem. And we were able to get the case filed in before the expiration of whether it's a B-2 to an F-1 or an F-1 to a B-2 or an F-1 to an H-1, whatever status you're going. As long as your I-94 is still valid, we can get it filed in. Now, there are situations, Nipasa, where I've had clients, and I have one client right now.
Hmm.
He applied for a B-2 extension on his own, and
Hmm.
he didn't know he could ask for a 6 month extension. And he only asked for the 3 months extension. And the 3 month extension was not approved until a week ago. And the 3 month extension expired in February of 2024. And now he wants to file for another extension. But technically, he's been out of status from Feb 27th, 2024 till today, June 5th. So you may say, how are you going to file that extension? There is a legal way of doing it. It's called as a non-pro-tunc application. We file that. We explain to the USCIS that it was really not his mistake because the uh, B-2 extension was granted after the expiration of the date that he requested for. He requested until Feb, and then the approval came around May 29th or 30th. So, it had already expired by the time he received the approval notice. So there is a legal action, course of action that we can take, and we
Mhm.
apply based on that. And I've had pretty much luck with all of those applications when we filed it non-pro-tunc, and the USCIS did approve our cases because we gave them an absolutely valid reason as to why we were applying so late, few months
Okay.
late.
Mhm. So they consider, and especially if it looks reasonable, if the reason really looks,
Absolutely.
yeah, that is very nice, very thoughtful of the US, I guess I can say USCIS. All
No,
right,
they
so
are considerate. They do listen to you if they know that you have a valid reason. For example, if somebody has been hospitalized and did not realize that their I-94 expired, there were no condition to even think about it. Yes, that is a
mhm,
reason that could be there. Or let's say your passport was stolen and you don't know when your I-94 expired.
right.
So there are genuine reasons that they would accept. But if you're
Mhm.
saying, you know what, I was too busy with my cousins partying, and I was in too many weddings, and I completely
Mhm.
forgot. That's not gonna work. That's not gonna work.
No way, no way.
Yes.
Yes. So yes, thank you for that as well. Totally understandable, and thank you for clarifying that for us, Uma. So,
Most welcome.
also, I think we should take up one more question from the
Sure.
audience so that we can quickly go for a break after. So, let's take up this one from Rohit. What is the impact of current US immigration trends on the process of changing status from B-2 to F-1 to H-1B? Okay, that is our topic. So, okay.
Pretty much we've answered what is there is no current trends as such other than the Trump's policy on the 90-day rule where you cannot change your status in the first 90 days.
Mhm,
Other than that, we don't see any major issues. Of course, you're going from a B-2 to F-1. And one of the questions that I get from people is, can I travel to my home country and come back? Well, you can travel back, but if you're going to come back, you've got to go to the US consulate to get a F-1 or an H-1 visa stamping. And how considerate or how happy will the US consulate be in approving your H-1 or your F-1 when you go there is very, very questionable, because most consular officers do not like that you go on a B-1, B-2, and then you've changed your status, because when you went there, you told them, I'm just going to go as a tourist, I'm going for a wedding, I'm going for a graduation, or I'm just going to meet people or Disneyland or whatever you're going for, and then you change your status, they're not happy with it. So typically they will not give you a visa to come back,
mhm.
or they might give you one of those 221G with the color coded letters, either asking for more documentation or just basically investigating your case further to determine if you're really entitled to get that F-1 or your H-1.
Okay, okay. So, Uma, have you met the current director of USCIS or MJDeo?
Mr. Mayorkas, no, actually, I'm going for an AILA conference next week, Nipasa, and we have the annual conference each year in a different city, and we also do continuing legal education there. And we generally meet up a lot of USCIS officers. We meet up a lot of Department of Labor officers who come there, who discuss cases, who actually are one of the speakers at the seminars. And we get to talk to them one on one, asking them questions. They're pretty nice to answer our questions when we have situations. And I'm looking forward to meeting these officers about the power outage questions, which we've never encountered before. That's one of the questions I'm going to ask them. And so these are things that we definitely interact with them. And at the field offices, meaning the local offices, whether it's Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, I go to various offices, to New Orleans. I was just there
Mhm,
last week in New Orleans. So we do meet the officers there, as well as the district director of the field office, and we get a lot of information from them as well as to what they expect from attorneys when we file a case. What are they expecting? What do they expect us to do? What is our due diligence that they're expecting? And if we follow that, we pretty much see good results. Every month
mhm,
we have a meeting with the immigration judges. Every month we have a meeting with the local field office district director, or the acting district director, or the assistant district director, whether it's about citizenship or whether it's about green cards, employment, family, whether it's about work permits, delays, paroles. They answer the questions. Of course, one of the liaisons who is part of AILA will give them the questions, and based on that, they try to answer to the best of their ability, whatever they can. And I'm not saying every answer that they give is perfect. No, we don't get perfect answers all the time. We just get something which is a gray matter, and it is for us to infer from that gray answers how to
mhm.
solve the issues. We don't get perfect answers all the time.
True. And just like you always say, it's all about reading between the lines and going forward. So I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yes. So, friends out there, stay with us. We are sure going to take up your questions, but it's time for a short break. So, yes, if you have questions directly to Uma, you can contact her. Her information is already on the screen. You can call her on the number 713-787-5297. You can even email her uma@mantralaw.com, or visit her website to get to know more about Uma Mantravadi. That is www.mantralaw.com. And this is Nipasa Pradhan on Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us. Are you looking for a flexible work from home opportunity? We've got just the thing for you. Work just 2 hours a day and earn a monthly pay of 5,000 Indian rupees plus 500 Indian rupees for every meeting you attend. Earn up to 20,000 Indian rupees per month. Your responsibilities will include managing social media posts, creating engaging content, responding to messages, monitoring analytics, conducting research and data entry. All you need is your own computer, a reliable internet connection, knowledge of LinkedIn, basic English writing skills, ability to work independently, Aadhaar card, ability to use your real name on social media. Ready to join us? Email swapnil@staffinglyhealthcare.com to apply. Don't wait. Join us today and start your journey towards a flexible and rewarding work from home career. Hello, everyone. This is Nipasa Pradhan on Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. And today we are very happy. We ended our first half with this webinar with none other than Attorney Uma Mantravadi. And I'm very happy to welcome you back. This is the second half, and we are going to discuss further on the topic of today, that is from visitor to professional visas. So, is the changing status, the process Is changing status from B-2 to F-1 to H-1B feasible? We are answering your questions. We've already taken some of them, and we are very happy to be here to take some more of your questions. So, wherever you're watching us from, we are currently streaming live on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. And keep dropping your questions in the comments because we have none other than Attorney Uma Mantravadi here, right now, to answer to your questions. So, Uma, are you excited for the second half now?
Absolutely.
Me too. And before we dive into the questions from the audience, I wanted to ask you about, navigating visa changes. Another question about it. So, what are the possible implications of changing status from F1 to B2, and how might this affect future F1 visa applications?
As long as you have a valid reason for your B2, they are fine with approving your change of status from F1 to B2, as long as you have a valid reason to ask for the change of status. Anything, as I said, has to be justified with your documentation why you're doing it. And if they are satisfied, I've never had an issue. We've done many F1s to B2s, we've done H1s to B2s, we've done H4s to B2 or H4 to F1. We see a lot of children, for example, Nipasa, if you have an H4 dependent who's a child and who's turning 21, then we have to advise them to go to an F1 because they cannot further be a dependent after they are
Right,
over 21. So we tell the parents to start applying for their change of status at least a year ahead so that they are not out of status, and they have the continuity to go to school because they're probably going to school at that point. So these
right,
are
right.
things that have to be taken care of. And if you forget, we've had parents who've come to us saying, we forgot my child turned 21. Now what do we do? So we still give it a shot. We still file it under the non pro tunc and ask the USCIS to approve it as though it was filed in a timely manner. So it all depends.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, but not impossible. So, you can always
Nothing
change
is
status.
impossible. Yes,
Right. All right. So great then. I think let's take a one question from the audience right now. That is from Surya Kiran asking, what is the processing time for changing status from B2 to F1 and B2 to H1 while staying in US?
it all depends if you're going to do it regular or premium. If you're doing regular, we cannot give a time frame. It may take 6 months, may take 4 months, may take 8 months. And if you're doing premium, paying the premium price, you're looking at about 3 weeks because now premium processing is not 15 calendar days, but 15 business days. And again, hopefully, if you don't get an RFE for any of these cases, if you get an RFE, that's going to extend the time. So you want to make sure that you give all the documents and make sure that you are using the premium processing to the optimum and get this approved in the 15 business days.
Right, right.
There's premium
Okay,
even for
Surya
the
Kiran.
student visas.
Okay. So 15 working days, friends. Keep that in mind. Not calendar days, but working days. And Surya Kiran, I hope you got your question answered. Thank you for the question. If you have any further questions, we're still here, so you might as well keep dropping them in the comments. So this was on YouTube. Thank you so much. Now let's move on to the next question that I have for you, Uma, and that is
Sure.
about pending applications. So can a B2 visa holder with a pending extension application apply for an F1 visa? And should they also reapply for a B2 extension to maintain their status?
Good question. Yes, they can apply for the change of status while the B2 extension is pending. They can apply, and if they feel that their B2 extension may not get approved and the 6 months is almost coming up, and they need to file another B2 extension, I would do that as well. File the B2 extension, second one, while the first is pending, and also, if need be, apply for a change of status to an F.
Okay, just to be safe.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. Let's move on to the next question that I have for you, and that is regarding visa validity and transactions. So, if someone has a valid B2 visa and decides to switch to F1 status, will this affect their B2 visa, and can they still use it to visit the US after completing their studies?
If the B2 is still valid, generally B2 is granted sometimes for 1 year, sometimes for 5 years, sometimes for 10 years, depending on that. If it is valid, yes, they can. Now, of
Okay.
course, at the port of entry, the officer can ask questions because the previous time this individual came on a B2 and changed their status to an F1. So the officer can have some doubts if this individual will repeat that the second time if they are traveling on a B2. Now, do they have plans to change it to F1 or H1? They can be asked intensive questions in secondary inspection. It's possible.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Uma, for taking that up. And I think now it's time to jump into the questions from all the viewers out there who are waiting very eagerly to get their questions answered. So let's take up this one. And this is on YouTube from Amarjeet. If an individual working in the USA on an H-1B visa gets laid off 7, cannot secure a new job within the 60-day grace period, they might consider changing their visa status from H-1B to F-1. In this case, there is a continuation. Okay. In this case, what are the requirements for changing from H-1B to F-1 status? And the question two is it necessary for the individual to gain admission to a university in time for either the fall or spring semester and have an I-20 at the time of application? Let's take the first question first. What are the requirements for changing from H-1B to F-1 status?
Well, you'll have to get admission, and I would not recommend people applying directly for F1 because sometimes getting documentation to get the I-20 from a school might even take 30 days, 60 days. We don't know. Each school is different. They're not going to issue an I-20 immediately. So you'll have to figure out if each school is different, if they are going to issue your I-20, and if you're going to file this, you might as well file it in premium because you've got only 60 days. So, which is why we recommend that you go from an H1 to B2, B2 to an F1. Now, whether they
Okay.
should apply for fall, spring, that all depends when they're getting laid off. So, I can't answer that question.
Okay. So, all right. So, thank you so much, Amarjeet, for the question. But for the second question, we cannot really give you a proper answer. So, if you really want to get an answer or maybe consult an attorney, why not contact Attorney Uma Mantravadi directly and, yeah, consult with her. Her details are already displayed on the screen. Check her out. You can visit her website and even send her an email, or better, even just give her a call. All right, so let's move on to the next question that we have for you from the audience, and that is this is also on YouTube. This is from Shino. Shino is asking, in scenarios where the individual's circumstances change unexpectedly during the transition process, such as a job, such as a job offer or family emergency, how flexible are the options for adjusting the course of action from B2 to F1 to H1B? What are the implications for legal status and future immigration prospects in such areas, in such cases?
It's a very confusing question. And our
But
question
I
is
think we've
when
taken
do
this up a little bit, really.
I mean, basically, I don't know when this person is losing their job or having financial issues. Is it after coming to the US? So that's not clear to me. Change unexpectedly during the transition. What transition? transition period of which B-2 to F-1 or F-1 to H-1. Without knowing that, it's kind of difficult to answer the question.
Mhm,
But as far as how flexible are the USCIS, it all depends on each individual circumstances. So it's kind of hard to explain that question because I don't understand the question.
mhm.
So if the person
So,
can be
Shimo,
more
we will
clear
need
about
more.
it, they
Yeah.
can email me the question or re-ask the question.
And if you do email Attorney Uma your question, I would really suggest that you also talk about your current status. Where are you actually at, so that she can really
Correct.
guide you and give precise answers. So thank you, Shino. Nevertheless, but I wish we could totally give you a proper answer. If you can give us more clarification to your question, we are still here for some time. All right, let's move on to the next question. Now, this is from Surendra. Hi, I have B-1, B-2, and I am interested in getting employed in USA. I am just a graduate. So what are the options for me to get employment? Is it only change to H-1B or do I have other options? There is a
Again,
follow-up.
okay.
Is it better is it better to come there and apply or apply from here in India? Moreover, I have heard that staying long on B-1, B-2 can create problem in any future applications. Is that true?
Okay. Is it better to apply here or from India? Right now, the H-1B quota is already over. So there is no option for you to go from a B2, B1, B2 to an H1. So that's out. Now, the only option for you could be depending on what your background is. You could go to school, and once you graduate from your school, you can either get an F1 OPT, and if you're a STEM graduate, you also get a STEM extension. Or if you have a curriculum that allows you to get a CPT, you may be eligible to get a CPT and work for an employer. So it all depends what curriculum you're getting into, what university. Not every university offers CPT, so you'll have to look into that, whether your curriculum, your university is offering you a CPT, so you can actually work on a CPT. Now, would you prefer to go back and wait and get an H1? That is a possibility. Would you prefer to go back and get an F1 and come? Yes, that is definitely a good option too. So it all depends what an individual wants to do. If you feel like I may not get an F1 if I go to the US consulate, I'm better off here, then that's something you have to look into. So it's not a blanket answer that I can give you for that it applies to everyone. It's an individual case by case we have to look into and then advise you what would be the best course of action for you as an individual. But generically, this is the answer.
Thank you so much, Uma, for taking this up. This is for Surendra on YouTube. Thank you, Surendra, also for your question. I hope that it's very clear now. And if you have further questions, you can always keep commenting. And now this next one is also on YouTube from Manali, like the place, I think. I'm tired of constantly applying for B-1 visas and dealing with the uncertainty of entry. Can I use my history of compliance with B-1 rules and my repeated entries to argue for approval of a work visa or even a green card? And what would be the best strategy to make this argument to USCIS?
Of getting a work visa from a B1, I don't know how you are intending to get a work visa. Again, the possibilities are the H1, or maybe you qualify for an L1. I don't know that. And if you do, we'll have to look into that. And merely, because you've traveled 10 times or 15 times, that alone is not a consideration for the USCIS to grant your H1 or an L1. You have to qualify for that actual position, and only if you won for an H1, you have to be picked in the lottery, and your employer has to file your H1, and all this has to happen in a timely manner, and that's between Feb and April of each year. And if that doesn't happen, then you have to look into other options, whether you may qualify for a TN or an L1 or any other options. So I don't know what country you're from and what you may qualify for. So I can't answer whether you will get a work permit or a green card and how soon you'll get it. Now, if you're from India, EB2, EB3 for India, the waiting is almost 20 to 25 years. Now, from different countries of South Asia, like Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan, EB2, EB3 is possibly a year to 2 years or maybe 3 years. But during that 3 year period, you've got to maintain your status here till you get your green card. So that's why I'm saying I don't know what your background is, what country you're from, unless I know the details. I can't specifically answer that question.
Okay. Okay. So, Manali, I suggest you can contact Attorney Uma Mantravadi directly. And yes, I think it's always best to be more clear with more details, and we can help you out with precise answers. Let's move on to the next question now. This is from Manirva. How long can an F1 student stay in the US after their program ends while waiting for H-1B approval?
Well, the F1 can stay in the US under the cap gap. There is something called as a cap gap. And if your H-1B has been picked in the lottery and your employer has filed for your H1, you should notify the DSO or the ISO that your H1 got picked and you have a notice of receipt. So they will ensure that on the CVIS website that you are a cap gap and you're entitled to stay in the US until your H1B gets approved. But if you are a cap gap, you have certain time period where you can work on your OPT, which would generally be until September 30th of that year. And beyond that, you cannot work, but possibly you can stay. But generally, we advise if your OPT has expired, that you and your H1B is still not approved, you've got an RFE, you don't know what's going on and you don't know how long it'll take before your employer can respond. If you don't want to take chances, then we suggest that you go back into an F1. If you did your master's, maybe you can do a second master's or maybe you can do a PhD depending on what your interests are. We suggest that, you go back to school.
Okay. Thank you so much for taking that up for Manirva on YouTube. And Manirva, thank you for your question as well. Moving on to Sonakshi's question, which is also on YouTube. She's asking, in cases where there may be familiar ties or dependencies involved, such as a spouse or children accompanying the individual on the B-2 visa, how does the transition from F-1 and then to H-1B status impact their immigration status and rights? Are there any specific considerations or actions that need to be taken to address their situation?
Of course, if you have, what she means is if there are family
Uh,
members or
yeah,
dependents,
familiar. Sorry, not familiar. Yeah.
family tie or dependents who come on the B2. For example, if the husband is filing for an F1, then the wife and children would be going on F2 as dependent. Of course, he's got to show that he has the financial ability to support the dependents, and the school
Mhm.
will issue an F2 I-20 so that the dependents can change their status to F2. Similarly, when they go from an F1, F2 to an H1, the husband is going on to an H1B from an F1, then the dependents will change their status to an H4.
Okay, thank you for taking that up for Sonakshi. Sonakshi, thank you for your question and thank you for participating as well. So let's move on to, I think we'll take up two more questions from the audience. Let's see who are they going to be. But yes, all right. Subha on YouTube is asking, what financial documentation is required to prove sufficient funds for the change of status from B2 to F1? And how does the financial requirement for F1 status compare for that compared to that for H-1B status?
Okay. If you're going from a B-2 to F-1, you need the financial documents. If you are self-supporting, they'll want to look at all your bank statements, your tax return, because they'll want to see how you got this money. Let's say you had worked in your home country for 20 years and you've saved up enough money and you've got funds equivalent to what the school is asking. Let's say the school fees, your living, your tuition, everything is coming to about $50,000. Just a rough estimate that I'm giving. So you need to show that you have either Indian rupees equivalent to $50,000 or more, or if your parents are supporting, then they'll look for their tax return, their pay slips, their bank statements, which can show that they can send you that money, even with the conversion rate of the foreign currency, that they have sufficient funds to support you. It can be a parent, it can be a family member, it can be a family member in the US who is here, and they're willing to give you an affidavit of support with their bank statement. So how much is required depends on the school. Now, when you're going from an F-1 to H-1, you don't need to show any financial support. Basically, you're going from a student to an H-1, which is a job, and your employer is saying, I'm going to pay this person, this lady, 60,000 or 80,000. So the employer has to show that they have the ability to pay. As a student, you don't have to show anything.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much for taking that up, Subha. Thank you for your question as well. And now we'll take up this last question from Ria. And Ria is asking, if the university supports day one curricular practical training, that is CPT, can the individual continue to work with any employer while the change of status application is pending? Can the individual stay in the USA?
The question again is kind of confusing. If the university supports day one CPT, can the individual continue to work? So the word continue to work, I'm not sure. Has the person already been in the US on an F-1 and worked on a CPT, and now they're going for a second CPT? If the school curriculum requires that, then only you will get a CPT. If you don't, if the school curriculum doesn't have that program, you cannot get a day one CPT. Now, once you get a day one CPT approved, you've already shown who your employer is. You've got to give all that information to the DS, your ISO or the DSO, who's going to endorse all that on your I-20 because they're going to put the employer's name. So you cannot be working for a different employer while your I-20 shows a particular employer. If it's employer
Right.
A, then you have to work for them. You cannot work for somebody else. So I don't know what change of status application is pending. So I don't know if she's referring to an H-1B. I don't know that. So it's kind of confusing and I can't answer that question.
True, true. I think, Ria, we need more clarity on your question, but I would suggest that you contact Attorney Uma directly, and maybe get more clarification because that way she would, Attorney would also know what does she need to know to give you the correct answers. So have a one-on-one conversation, I would say. All right. So contact Uma. Her details are on the screen. You can call her on the number 713-787-5297. You can even email her. Her email address is uma@mantralaw.com. And you can even visit her website, that is www.mantralaw.com. So, Uma, I had more questions. If you don't mind, maybe we would like to maybe have another
Sure,
episode on this
sure. We
in the
can
coming week.
continue this because this is a very interesting topic and we
True.
see so many people coming on B1s or B2s. And as I said, once they come here, um, you know, uh, they want to change their status and they want to explore opportunities that is available to them in the US, whether going to school or whether an employer is sponsoring them, be it an H-1, be it a TN. I keep saying TN because if you're from Canada, you're
Mhm.
entitled to also get a TN visa if you're a Canadian citizen. You could be an Australian citizen and get an E3 visa. So it all depends what country you're from and what you may be entitled to. So, yes, we can definitely do part B of this topic.
Thank you so much, Uma. That means a lot. And this is good news to all you folks out there as well, I hope, because I can already see more questions coming and you need more clarity. And we can do this again in the coming week on another episode on the same topic. So thank you so much for joining. And especially you, Attorney Uma, thank you so much for joining us and for making this
My
whole
pleasure.
webinar a very insightful one, really.
Look forward to many more.
Me too. Me too. You have a great day ahead. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome. Have a good day.
Thank you. And you too, friends, thank you so much for all your questions. Very interesting ones, intriguing ones, and confusing ones as well. But definitely, giving us more way to discuss further on this topic. So thank you so much. Visitor to professional visa, we discussed, and we are sure going to take the same topic up again. Stay with us and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We are Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. Hit the subscribe button, friends. And before I leave, I really wanted to talk to you about this fantastic opportunity that is there for all you folks out there who have some time, to work and earn. And this is a remote work from home job opportunity. So if you're looking for this flexible work from home opportunity, you just need to listen to this. So you all you need to do is work just for 2 hours a day. Imagine if you can spare 2 hours, you can earn money. And yes, so 2 hours a day, and you can earn a monthly uh, pay of 5,000 Indian rupees. And if you attend meetings, you get 500 Indian rupees for each meeting. So you have the opportunity to earn up to 20,000 rupees per month. Yes, friends, that is a very good opportunity. So why not? 2 hours, 2 hours a day, and you can earn 20,000. That is a big deal, right? So the responsibilities include managing social media posts, creating engaging content, responding to messages, monitoring analytics, and conducting research and data entry. And all you require is your own computer, a reliable internet connection, knowledge of LinkedIn, basic English writing skills, the ability to work independently, an Aadhaar card, the ability to use your real name on social media. And if you are interested, if you can spare 2 hours and you're interested in earning some money, you can surely apply for this right now. Note down this email address and you can send your resumes there. And the email address is sravanti.chodavarapu at higheritpeople.com. Let me spell it out for you. S capital and the rest in small caps. SRAVANTHI dot CHODAVARAPU at higheritpeople.com. Thank you so much, friends. And also, I really wanted to say no fake accounts. That is why we are emphasizing on using your real name on social media. And if you're already on LinkedIn, that is even better. So, yes, apply for this, and it's a very good opportunity for you. We are also we are Immigration and Jobs Talk Show, and we also deal with placements. If you're looking for placements, job opportunities, TNs, green cards, anything related to immigration and jobs, please feel free to contact us directly as well. My details are also on the screen. You can call me on the number 408-335-6444. You can email me at nipa@higheritpeople.com. You can check us out. We are www.higheritpeople.com. That is our website. So check us out and get to know us better. And yes, hit that subscribe button and like, share, and subscribe. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is Nipasa Pradhan signing off for now from Immigration and Jobs Talk Show.
Consultant seeking a new opportunity? We offer job placement services for US citizens, green cards, EADs, and visa holders. We also sponsor various work visas like H-1B, E3, TN, and green cards. 20 plus years of experience in the industry. Exceptional employee benefits. Highly rated by our employees. Global presence with 200 plus recruiters and direct clients. Connect with us. Call us in the number 408-335-6444 or mail us at nipa@higheritpeople.com or visit our website www.higheritpeople.com.